You're what? You're
Well, I don't
hangry.
think we were talking about you, Karen.
Yeah, for the folks at home, they see the crowd showing up tonight.
You can see the room clear
Yeah.
back through the windows.
Big TVs.
Look at, I'm sorry, Don. People don't really want to hear you speak today. So,
Beautiful new monitors.
okay, let's make sure your cell phones are off. Hey, I'm just talking to you. Make sure your cell phones. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. He's always. You ready?
I don't have a purse.
Okay.
They make those man purses nowadays.
We are live.
Discussing
Okay.
issues.
Yes, we are.
Purses.
Okay, good evening. It is Tuesday, August 29th, 2023. Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk,
Commissioner Moore,
I am here.
Commissioner Riddell,
Here.
Commissioner Hung.
Here.
We have a quorum. Today we have a public hearing on the Cobb Ditch Drainage Improvement Project, New Russia Township. In accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 6117, notice was given on July 5th of 2023 from Lorain County Stormwater Management District for Cobb Ditch Drainage Improvement Project, New Russia Township. Project will remove sediment from approximately 1,174 linear feet of Cobb Ditch, treat for invasive species, remove log jams and obstructions, restore slopes where necessary, cleaning out built-up sediment and culvert under Butternut Ridge Road, and install access for maintenance of the ditch. Location of said project begins at the southern edge of Echoing Hills Village at 45970 Butternut Ridge Road, Overland, and following the Cobb Ditch north towards the northern edge of the property. Resolution 23-511 adopted July 14th, fixed the date of the view and the hearing, August 1st, 2023. One certified letter was sent to owner Echoing Hills, and August 15th and 22nd of 23, the publication was in the Chronicle Telegram.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Peltz? Do we?
Anyone wishing to give testimony or evidence, please raise your right hand. Answer I do. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, Don, welcome.
Thank you, Board. This is in addition to the Lorain County General Plan of Drainage under 6117. This body of water is known as Cobb Ditch and was brought to us by the New Russia Township trustees and numerous residents that we'll be talking about in a little bit. This is the initial phase of a project, though, where actual ditch reshaping is needed to restore the original ditch and provide immediate improvement to public lands. The New Russia Township Park is actually just across the street. And with that, so again, the location, this ditch is off of Butternut Ridge Road in New Russia and running from the culvert. We are going to clean out the culvert under Butternut Ridge, and we're going to extend all the way along the ways of Echoing Hills to the north. The project, we've already been out there and had Lynn Ickes, one of our stormwater managers, and her summer crew come out to spray for invasives so that when we do go out for construction, the invasives should be dead, and we won't need to worry about spreading the invasives when we dispose of the dirt or the spoils that would come out from it. We'll be removing plus or minus 2 feet of sediment within this for about a length of 1,200 feet. This will provide an outlet for the park that is currently experiencing flooding and essentially serve as a detention basin for the time being. And this will be constructed using our ARPA funds. So this is part of that $6.5 million that you had set aside for the stormwater district. The easement's already been signed and recorded, so we do have the consent of the property owner all ready to go onto the property and do the project. And we actually, when I wrote this, we had easements being prepared to take us all the way to Russia Road. Those arrived today, and I will be sending those out to the adjacent property owners going downstream, where we'll be looking at more of a logjam removal and obstruction removal, and to continue to allow that water to flow. But this is the most intensive part of that ditch, and we also have some wetlands we'll be dealing with. And then lastly, this is something that Craig had asked. I want to make sure that we understand that this project is necessary to be constructed in accordance with our plan and is necessary for the preservation and promotion of the public health and welfare, and special assessments shall not be collected. So this is 100% of the cost will be borne by the county, and in this case, we're using our ARPA funds that were received. And what you see in the picture is just a plan view. The green is wetland areas, so when we're working through that green, we're going to be laying down timber mats to protect the wetland. And then underneath is a profile that shows what the new flow line will be and the existing, and the gap in between is what we'll be excavating. The estimated cost is $187,664, and 1,200 feet of ditch will be restored. The ditch will look similar to this, the typical 2-to-1 slope, about a 4-foot bottom. And we'll have a small easement on the west side and a larger easement, I believe, on the east side. It'll be about 25 foot. That'll give us the ability to bring the equipment in, excavate, remove the buildup of sediment, and using a one-step method. So that means that we'll be taking it out of the ditch and putting it directly into probably a dump truck to be able to haul away the spoils. They will not be side cast, and we'll be working with the local property owners to see if they would like to take those spoils in place on their farm fields. We do have a lot of agriculture that's active in this area, and they may have low areas so long as it's not in a floodplain nor in a wetland area. And then our next steps are, after the hearing, if the board decides to go forward, we can go out to bid as early as 5 days, assuming that no one objects to this project. This project will come back to you for the award of a contract to a successful contractor. And as I had stated a little bit earlier, we're currently developing an extension on this project, so we'll be back again for logjam removals and other obstructions, along with the easements that we'll have with those. And I've talked to already, out of the 19 property owners, I've talked to 15, and none have had an opposition, and a couple were clamoring if I could send them their easement immediately while we were still drafting it and didn't know what side of the ditch we would be working from. And with that, my presentation is over, and I'm happy to answer any and all questions you may have.
Don, have we identified the source of the sediment?
No, it really comes from basically the entire watershed. Now, I do believe a fair amount of it is accumulating more rapidly because of the reeds and the tall grasses that grew up in that ditch, so that every little speck of sediment coming off the roadways, out of the park, and even for Echoing Valley, or Echoing Hills Village, they do farm a portion of their property, so that is probably the source of the sediment. It is a fairly large watershed area, encompassing most of the park, some of the cemetery, and then taking water from both sides of Butternut Ridge, quite a ways down. The watershed, if this were a 6131, we would have had to notify a whole lot more than just one property owner. And the sediment would be derived from all of those different places. And this ditch has not been cleaned in many, many years. So that is part of the reason why the sediment is so deep.
I was just gonna ask that, because 2 feet sounds like a lot.
It is.
Evidently with the timing, it should work out that if we can get rid of that on the neighboring property owners after harvest,
Yes.
that would be wonderful.
Yes, and I do know one of the property owners, Mr. Thornton, has been in constant contact with me since this. He was one of the people who brought it to my attention at the same time the township was. So I know he'll be anxious to be hearing from me within the next couple of days.
I know this is part of what you worked on, right? The 6117 to speed up.
I do have.
Yeah, go ahead. That's what.
Mr. Romanchek, you may have addressed this, and I neglected to hear it, so I apologize. But how does a ditch currently exist, and what problems are you going to, or what problems could potentially be alleviated by this?
Okay, we currently the ditch is filled with about 2 foot of sediment, and because of that filling, it's also lost some of its shape. So the slopes aren't adequate. From a previous project many years ago, there were some side castings that will be removed, and then there is an extraordinary amount of reeds, cattails. We've already begun to address that by sending a crew out to spray that with the permission of the property owner, so that when it comes time to excavate, we're not spreading that plant to take root someplace else, like the middle of a farm field or someone's garden, wherever this dirt may end up going. And we'll also be addressing the drainage for the New Russia Township Park, which currently gets inundated on a fairly regular basis, which makes roughly, say, 3 to 6 acres from time to time unmowable and then ultimately unusable to the public, in addition to poor drainage east and west along Butternut Ridge Road for some of the residences. This will also begin to provide an adequate outlet for future improvements. There is a lateral that we're not touching at this time, the Echoing Village could clean out. That would also benefit the Discount Drug Mart that fronts on Russia Road. So there's a lot. Again, this can be a very large watershed as we extend this forward, but cleaning out this portion would actually encapsulate providing a potential outlet for that lateral as well. Is that sufficient?
Is that sufficient? It was a softball.
We were talking prior to the cameras rolling in regards to the definition of the maintenance agreement when it comes to maintaining these properties. Currently, that's under the control of the county engineer.
Correct.
Okay, because
And
we're the ones that when we have these hearings, people think we control that, and then they complain, and then we're like,
Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit what we talked about off camera
Yes.
now about what some of the future holds?
Absolutely. One of the major changes that the Board of Commissioners made, as well as is to bring on additional staff to be able to assist in things such as bringing maintenance more in-house and closer to the to the commissioners. This year, we had Lynn Ickes go out with the county engineer staff to begin to actually do the inspections. That is the first step towards the maintenance. She has now identified several ditches that do need maintenance, and we're in the process now of coming up with specifications to be able to then get those ditches improved or maintained and bring them back, while the county engineer is continuing at this point in time to do mowing. So basically to make sure that the trees and the shrubs don't get established. She has identified a couple of areas that are in desperate need of maintenance, and we are prioritizing those. We are also looking at alternate sources of funding and some different best management practices that we might be able to apply to some of these, such as using a two-stage channel or self-forming channel in some places, and that may make us eligible to go after some H2 Ohio funds if the conditions are correct. We've also brought on summer helpers, seasonal workers that have assisted with both Lynn in being able to do inspections and spraying safely during the season, as well as we have another gentleman, Matt Arnold, where we've brought in some similar under our control now, the dry weather screenings. So these are steps we are taking to bring a little bit better control, both organizationally as well as cost.
Oh, the main thing I like is best practices, but the key here is as we have these hearings, people do get a little upset because
Yes.
we are putting easements on their property so that
Correct.
we can come out there. And I've heard things such as coming out once a year to mow along the easement only isn't sufficient because the ditches or creeks are still, that are under our control, are not being maintained. So when I heard, that we don't really have that much say over it.
Yeah,
That's why so I just want to kind of reiterate what we talked about prior.
Correct.
That it was good to hear that you're working with the engineer's office.
Right.
And we're coming up with some best practices so that in the future, as we have these ditch hearings, I'm sure the best question they should be asking is if you're going to maintain this ditch, define the definition of maintenance.
Yeah.
you know?
Now, I will say when we have when these questions are asked of us, and
Yeah.
they are asked of us quite often when I have these conversations. Again, for us, we are looking at the maintenance of the ditch from strictly a functional standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So you would never hire the county to be your landscaper. You would hire the county to be able to maintain your roads, your infrastructure, your pipes. In fact, you don't hire us. That's why you pay your taxes. That's why you pay your fees, and it's our responsibility. And we look at them as customers and to make sure that that ditch will function. But if someone is expecting it to look like their front yard, we could not afford to do
No,
that.
that's
But to
what I'm
make
not
sure we
hearing.
go, I just want to make it clear
It's
for
the
everyone.
flow of water, I think, is all that most
Right,
people are
and so,
concerned
and if there
about.
is an issue, we do send, if someone complains, we send Lynn out, we've sent Matt out, I go out, I've fallen in ditches, I will fall in them again. It's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But we try and understand what is going on, come up with different solutions. An example would be, we just got a call on King Cobb Belt, and it looks like maybe, one of those small tornadoes. I think there were 10 of them that hit northeast Ohio with that storm. There are a lot of trees down under a section of King Cobb Belt ditch that we're responsible for maintaining. So we sent Lynn out. She was out there today. She got pictures, and we're in the process now of putting together a scope of work so that we can get a contractor out there to get those trees removed.
How long will it take for you and the engineer's office to come up with a plan?
We've been working through it, and it'll probably we're halfway through it. So I would say by the time we go out to bid, which should be in a couple, I'd say 3 months or so, we should have it pretty much tidy.
And when you say tight, we're talking about who's responsible and
Who's
and having a
responsible,
maintenance,
and
a
then-
rotation for each and every ditch that the county is responsible for, correct?
Right.
Okay. And in 3 months, you should have a nice rotation plan for us, correct?
Right. We've already started those conversations. Well, We're pretty much through them.
Okay.
One of the recommendations we made is for some of the ditches and some locations where there's not a lot of vegetative growth because they're in shaded areas, of not even we do the inspections annually, but don't waste money sending someone out to mow something that's not growing, and better put our resources to where they're needed rather than doing it because we say we're going to mow every year. If it's not needed, then we don't. If it is needed, then that's where we put our resources.
Yeah, but nobody really cares about ditches until you have a rain like we did last
Exactly.
Wednesday and Thursday. So, like I said, I did receive quite a few calls, and thanks for
Yeah.
answering those.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Could we take a look at the process here, that we need to define what normal, regular, whatever maintenance is?
Yeah.
And see how much work that'll be on an annual basis, because in my short time here, it seems like we react when it becomes a $200,000 to a $2 million project. But it seems like we could be doing a lot more, either with smaller responses by smaller bids that we can give out quicker. You know, we don't have to wait for design and engineering to clean something, I would hope.
Yes and no. Your experience, unfortunately, is stuff that is outside of the system that we're bringing in. And so this is stuff that has never been improved. That being said, we do have some ditches where it looks like they might be not as bad as, because we already have plans and we're in the process of also trying to get all of those into a GIS so they're readily available. And so we know what the existing flow lines are, so we know what we're trying to get to. And those are some of the struggles that we've had is we're looking at projects that were led by Soil and Water in 1950. County engineer in 1960, some combination of such in 1970, and then we find that some people have agreements and those projects never went forward while other portions did, and so we're trying to piece together everything and also provide Lynn, her people, and the engineers a better understanding of all the different projects, their locations, the easements, the access points. And so we've done already like a lot of mapping improvements working with the engineers and their staff to, again, make the process more affordable.
Well, as the
But
commissioner
yes.
said, the definition drives the bus.
Right.
You know, we've got to do this maintenance or cleaning or whatever it is that we're going
Right.
to decide. And some of it could be done by staff. If we were able to ramp up for the staff, we'd be more responsive. We wouldn't have to go through 5, 6, 8 month of bidding process.
Correct.
And we could be more responsive and keep these projects in line, a lot easier than waiting until they look like the site of the next Rambo movie.
I mean, mowing is something that can be done, I think, easily. When we get into some of these others, then we're looking at having to hire operators. And to get a good operator that's going to be working in people's yards, you need experience, and with experience comes good pay. And then we got to make sure that we can keep them busy for 2,080 hours a year.
No,
So,
I
but
just- I
I
appreciate
understand
it.
these are all the things that we're actually looking at and questioning ourselves. It's almost like you've been in a couple
All
of
I
our
can say,
meetings.
Director, is that good operator that needs good pay is the same guy that we're gonna hire for the $2 million project.
Oh,
Why don't
absolutely.
we hire him earlier? Avoid the problem.
Now, I appreciate you being proactive on this
Yes.
and answering these questions, because if we, looking at maybe sometime in December, then I'll be asking you for a
Yep.
completed
Yep.
maintenance schedule on all of our county ditches.
Okay.
So I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Do we close the hearing now?
You have to make a motion to close?
All right,
Yes. Are the orange here?
No, you're
No?
not.
Okay.
I move to close the hearing.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then on your cheat sheet,
Thank you,
there's a
John.
motion. you need. What's your cheat sheet?
I never got one. She doesn't love me. No, that says, nope, I don't have a cheat sheet.
Give him
Nope.
mine.
Thanks.
You have notes on yours, Teresa. I'm
Yeah,
gonna-
yeah.
Well, I mean, he's just gotta read that at the bottom, so.
Okay, we have to ask the engineer's office if they have any comments. They're not here. Don just gave his. Is there any owners that have any comments? Nobody signed up? I know there's someone here. No
Didn't
comment.
know if you were
Okay,
the owner or
okay.
I'm a contractor.
Oh,
Interested in
okay.
work, actually.
Well, talk to this guy.
Hi, we need your meeting.
I might give you a card before you all leave.
Okay.
He's shown more energy than the other 45. Fire the boy.
Okay, make a motion to close the hearing.
Yep, we already
We did that.
We did that.
We haven't seconded it, though.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And I
Yes,
Oh,
made,
you did?
and I already
Oh.
did the roll call.
Oh, well, you did?
Yeah, you
You're on the next
Well, you
one.
wanted me to read all this, I thought.
You just did this one.
Oh, just the motion, that one?
Yes,
Okay.
Just the findings.
to adopt.
You made me, okay.
We got it.
No,
It's
I'm
just-
good. I got it. Motion to adopt Lorain County Stormwater Management Drainage District Improvement known as the Cobb Ditch Drainage Improvement within the Lorain County Drainage District. It is necessary to be constructed in accordance with the general plan and declare that Cobb Ditch Improvement Project is necessary for the preservation and promotion of the public health and welfare, and that special assessments will not be levied and collected to pay for any part of the cost of the proposed Cobb Ditch Improvement Project.
Second,
Any further discussion? Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
yes.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
So how much time frame then on a 6117? This is a good advertisement for you, all the work you did.
Yeah.
Because you did a lot of work to get
Have
this.
5 days or 7 calendar days.
Where did you
Off the
get
top
that,
of my
Teresa?
head.
You had it
What?
somewhere.
5 calendar, is it 5 business days?
Yeah,
Oh,
to
there you
award
go.
the contract.
It's right
or to-
there. Yeah.
5 for
Thank you.
any appeals, then we can go out to bid.
So we can go out to bid
Yeah,
in
not
about,
award the contract. That'd be
No,
beautiful.
If you could do that, yeah.
Right.
no, but this process is amazing. I know you did a lot of work and I wanted to thank you, so,
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy to help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
okay.
Yeah.
That one's done. Move on.
Yeah,
Okay, other business?
Other business, number one, amend resolution 23-546 adopted August 1st, 2023, declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the operation of the county 911 system pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 5705.19 BB that will be on the November 7th, 2023 ballot for 5 years for .50 mils, commencing in 23, due in 24. Amendment is to reflect the recent changes in the Ohio Revised Code 5705.03, adding additional language as to what the county auditor estimates this additional tax will collect annually.
so moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Yes, it came back from the Secretary of State. We've already passed this once, but we had to clean it up a little bit in order so that it would be allowable on the ballot and we wouldn't have any issues. So that's why you see 2 amendments on here. So,
Anything else? Commissioner Moore?
aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Number two, amend resolution 23-547 adopted August 1st of 2023, declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the criminal justice services to support the Lorain County Crime Lab, ORC 307.45A7, and Lorain County Coroner, ORC 307.45A6, that will be on the November 7th, 2023 ballot for 5 years for .25 mils, commencing in 23, due in 24. Amendment is to reflect the recent changes in the Ohio Revised Code 5705.03, adding additional language as to what the county auditor estimates this additional tax will collect annually.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Yes, this is the same thing in which we had, the Secretary of State came back with the language and we had to amend it. The other county issue that we dealt with was fine and we didn't have to amend that one. So that was it.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Number three, amend resolution 23-607 adopted August 25th of 2023, supporting Lorain County Fair Board and financial assistance in the amount up to $30,000 for transportation assistance. This amendment is to reflect the financial assistance will be for transportation assistance and/or gravel.
I'll move to table this amendment.
Second?
Discussion.
Yes, I kind of reacted early yesterday by putting this on. I thought we'd have to have an amendment. But what we're going to be doing is the county administrator has the authority to look at it, and he'll come to all three of us and review it. And in the future, if we do need to do an adjustment on the definition, then we'll deal with it then. So my apologies for having this on the agenda, but I wanted to make sure that everybody got taken care of. So we'll table it and see when they start coming in with what they're asked. Yep.
But the good news is the Fair Board was very appreciative. They had a disaster of the scope of which they had never experienced before. And they were able to adjust and save the last 3 days of the fair so the residents could get out and enjoy the fair, which cannot be repeated next week. It's done this week.
Yep.
And the kids went on and it must have been enough people there because they got record prices for the hogs and the beef over the
And my
weekend.
chicken.
Bidding war, Commissioner Moore.
Yeah, I thought, they took my record last year, and I thought I'm going out there to get that $2,300 record. Yeah, when it went for $7,500, I stopped at 26. So, congratulations to the winners on that. I did buy a couple though. So,
But this is just an example of, we'll get more comfortable with this, but this is the commission being proactive when we see a need and we see an emergency, getting engaged and doing so forth and trying to navigate our responsibilities for motions and and Mr. Peltz's approval and those kinds of things. But it all worked out. It was a little cumbersome, but it all worked out, and in the end result, we did the right thing for the right fight.
Mr. President, just to echo on the fair last week, we saw quite a disaster there with the cars and the vehicles and the trailers underwater. But the public bounced back. I mean, I was there on Saturday, and people came out in droves. It was very crowded up and down the Midway. It was really nice to see the people there. Although the people coming in that were hitting the traffic, having to wait a half an hour or 45 minutes to get in, probably weren't too happy about the traffic. But we were happy to see everybody come out and just that community support. And wanted to also thank the Fair Board members for all of their hard work and dedication that they do to put on a successful fair every year for our residents and residents of neighboring counties that come and visit us. So thank you to them.
Yeah, I had some fun with the sheriff too. He likes to get rabbits every year, the grand champion. So if you were there, you probably would have enjoyed seeing the commissioner and the sheriff go back and forth in that bidding war. It was quite entertaining, and it was a nice icebreaker with some of the fun we've had in our public meetings together. So I thought it was, it was good to see everybody there. There was record amounts for the rabbits, the birds, and on Saturday for the larger. So I talked to one of the judges who actually bought 3 hogs or 3 pigs. And I went, oh my gosh, what are you gonna do with that? And she says, I'm donating it. That's way too much pork. So I'll be going out tonight to go to the fair and get my $1,100 chicken. So I did buy 2, and I'm gonna make sure that's the most expensive. I did it last time. I spent it. And if anybody wants to come over and have some very expensive chicken, I'm not donating. I'm eating it. For that kind of money, I'm gonna eat it. Huh? No. You can't take them live, unfortunately. That's why a lot of kids hope that's a tough thing. And those kids were great. I mean, just to see the smiles on their face. I do love the junior fair. It is fun. And it was on Thursday, and it got canceled. So I went Friday thinking, I might have to buy a whole bunch. But it was so crowded, and the parents and the friends and everybody was just. There was records not only for, the grand champion, but everybody was buying, and it was great to be a part of it. So. And I ate way too many old boys and apple dumplings. So those are my 2 things. Okay, I guess the hearing's over. Move to adjourn.
We didn't vote.
Oh, we got to vote on what? The table?
Right?
Oh,
Commissioner Moore.
aye, table.
Commissioner Riddell.
All right.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Move to adjourn. There we go.
All right.
Thanks, Teresa, keeping us in line.
You're welcome. I tried.
Yeah. Sorry, Jeff. Did you want to speak?
That'll be a big chicken.
Last time it was fajitas. It was $1,700 I bought, and I had fajitas. Huh? Oh, they're big chickens, though. I don't think.
Hey, Jeff, that's like,
Oh, goodness.
Here's the Jillian cooked a tenderloin for Christmas. So we took the whole tenderloin over, it was all dressed out, she had they took all the trimmings and ground them up into ground meat, So about a week after Christmas, I went over and I said, we had the tenderloin, but it came from your house back, but the trimmings didn't, the ground meat didn't come back. Oh, I threw that in the freezer. Okay. So about 2 weeks after that, I